Hi, today I want to share a fun little technique with you. I'm sure you've all seen cookies with different colors of sanding sugar on them. Well, what about cakes? I started thinking about ways that we could incorporate sanding sugar into a cake design. This little cake utilizes just two colors, gold and red. It was very easy to put together. So in just a minute, we'll go ahead and I'll show you what we did in order to get the little heart toppers and the side embellishments. And then at the end, I'll also show you how you can coordinate cupcake toppers using the sanding sugar as well. You're going to need a strip cutter or a ruffle cutter. You might want to do a plunger cutter to decorate your edge so that you have little peekaboos on the sides. Could be hearts, stars, balls. You're going to need some gum glue, and this is water with Tylose powder, and a paintbrush. Now you can also use water. I have a bench scraper here because I used this to make sure that my first strip was vertical and not off kilter. Going to need some royal icing for attaching your strips and sanding sugars in your choice of colors. Now, what you see over here, I have my cake is covered in fondant. I let it sit for a couple of hours so that the surface firmed up and it'll be a little easier to handle. And then what I did is I brushed the surface lightly with some gum glue. You want to make sure that the surface is tacky just enough and without leaving any puddles. You know, I placed the cake into a larger pan so that when you're sprinkling your sanding sugars on the top, you can have your cleanup is easier, quicker, and then you can reclaim any of the sanding sugar that's in your pan, put it back into the bottle for use with other projects. Now, the other thing that I did here is I brought the gum glue slightly over the edge of the cake and made sure that there was sanding sugar there as well. That way, if my strips had any gaps up here, you wouldn't see just the plain fondant, you actually saw the sanding sugar. So, as you can see, the sides of this cake have alternating colored strips. Now, I chose to use modeling chocolate. As I said, you could also use gum paste or fondant. You'll just need to let your strips dry for an hour or more so that they don't droop over when attached to your cake. You can get creative with either your strip cutter, your ruffle cutter, and just make sure that you cut them to the size of the height of your cake. Now, once your strips are cut out, you can embellish them further by using plunger cutters. And that, as you can see, is what I did on these. This is plain. Now that would look lovely on a cake. Or you can take your plunger cutters and just remove whatever design you want. Now you could also keep those little hearts for something else. You might even think about putting them back on this strip or putting them on cupcakes. So when you're ready to sand them, you're going to brush the top lightly with your gum glue or water and making sure that you have all the surface covered. And the other thing I did with these is I made sure that the scalloped edge had gum glue on it as well, so that the entire surface was covered, and you can also do that little top edge. You need to be careful that you don't have any puddles. You can see this one was wet in spots, and that's why it has some clumping of the sanding sugar, and it doesn't look very attractive. So when your strips are wet, you simply take it, put it face down in the sanding sugar and lightly tap on it. You can roll it over to make sure that that edge has sanding sugar on it, and the top. And I see one little place that didn't really get into the sanding sugar. And then you can repeat until all of your strips are done. So let's do one more. Again, making sure that the entire surface is dampened. I liked using the modeling chocolate because it was, once it cooled, it was ready to work with. So again, we'll put this little guy in the sanding sugar. I'm sure my edges are done. I see a little spot that I missed on the very bottom. And set it aside. All right, so we are ready to attach these strips. All right, the cake is now on a cake stand, so I can show you how to attach the side strips. I've done a number of them, but I've left 2 here to show you how easy it is. All we're going to do is simply run a line of royal icing down the side, the straight edge, I should say. And I also stop about 1/4 of an inch from the top so that you don't see any royal icing at the top. And just place it on the side of your cake. Now, I also put these on so that the little heart cutout was past the edge of the previous strip, so you didn't see that when you look through that little cutout. And it's as simple as that. So let's do another one. Again, run a line of royal icing down the back. You don't have to be totally covered. Leave a little 1/4 inch gap there so it doesn't show at the top when you press it. And again, line that up and put it on. And I'm going to slide that back a little bit because I can see a little bit of the yellow or the gold through those hearts. And you would just continue around until you get to your first piece. One of the things that I like about using modeling chocolate is I can pull this up a little bit to push that last strip underneath. The other thing I want to call to your attention is the cake board. Decided to take a cake drum. I covered it with a red fondant like I did the cake, and then I just put gum glue around the edge and dipped it in the sanding sugar. And I think that gives a cohesive look to the whole presentation. Let's talk about the little heart toppers on this cake. And the supplies that you're going to need are a variety of heart-shaped cutters. I have 3 sizes here. You're going to need some toothpicks, like this one, to hold your little heart. And for these, I cut them out of modeling chocolate. Now you want these a little thick so that they'll stand up. In order to do that, if you've got a couple of dowels, put your modeling chocolate or fondant with Tylose or gum paste down on your surface and then use a rolling pin to go over it. That'll give you a fairly consistent and thicker piece of paste or modeling chocolate to work with. So once you've got them cut out, you take your toothpick, let's see, I've already started with this one, slide it into the bottom, and then you're going to proceed just like you did for the top of the cake and the side pieces. You're going to need your gum glue, brush the surface so that you've got all areas covered. And this time you're going to want to make sure that you get your edges, both sides. Your fingers are going to get a little sticky. It's wanting to spin on that toothpick. And all your edges done. And then your other side. If you're using gum paste, you're going to want to cut out your hearts a day ahead and insert your toothpick and then let them sit so that they dry and they don't flop around on you, and they'll make a wonderful little topper. So I've got this completely covered. Just going to go to the sanding sugar and dip it in. This you may have to take a little, and once you've got one side with sanding sugar, you can tap it, press it in on the other side. And then you're going to need to take it like we did the cake board and dip your edges. A little extra at that point. So once you've got completely covered, you can tap off the excess. And there you've got one of your heart toppers. Now, this one I've already done. So when you go to put these in the cake, sometimes it can be very difficult getting your fingers in and not smushing the top of your cake, not messing up your topper. So what I like to do is use a pair of needle nose pliers. So I can come over to the cake, I've already marked where I want this one, can start to get it in, but then their needle nose pliers, you can push it in the rest of the way and then just wiggle a little bit so that there's no gap. So cake toppers are very easy. You could easily do stars, you know, the hearts and other shapes that you might find in cookie cutters. So that just make sure that you roll them a little thicker so that it stands up on your cake easily. Now, I also mentioned that you could do some coordinating cupcake toppers. Here, I've cut out coordinating colors in the red and the yellow, and that will be the topper for my cake. And then I took one of my medium hearts and just made an impression here so that I can put a coordinating color. This is what I'm going to do, heart on here. So I've marked the position that I want the hearts to go. And what I'm going to do this time is I'm only going to brush outside of the heart. And the reason being, I want red sanding sugar on the outside, and then I want a golden heart in the middle. So, get that brushed, take it to the sanding sugar, and I've got a sparkly little top. Now what I'm going to do is put a little gum glue there. I'm only going to do one side of the yellow heart. One thing that I didn't mention is picking a fondant or gum glue, a fondant or gum paste, modeling chocolate, that's close to the color of the sanding sugar that you want to use. That way any little empty spots don't show up. If I had white topper with the red, you would see white in between the little sanding sugar crystals. So we dip our little yellow heart in, take off the excess, straighten out that point, and then take it and tap it in the middle. And we'll do the opposite color again with the other, brushing all the outside because I want this to be the gold sanding sugar. I don't want that sanding sugar in that empty spot. You could say, okay, why don't you do the whole thing? I don't want the sanding sugar in here because my red heart won't sit down or attach well. Now you could use, if you did the whole thing and then put your red heart, you'd have to use maybe royal icing or something to get it to attach. So this one, into my gold sanding sugar. Missed a little spot right there. Tap off the excess. Set that guy there. And we're going to do our red heart. Put a little gum glue in there so when I push it down it'll hold. And our red heart. And again, you can use any shapes you'd like. So, there. So, that's a very quick and easy way to have some coordinating cupcakes that could go with your cake.